each building we're looking at policy limits demand that we're going to make on the insurance company. Yes, sir. Councilman?
Do you know the policy limits for each building?
I do.
What are they?
Okay, for building A, you have about 3.2 million for structure. You have 439,000 for contents.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah.
439.
3.2 million in structure, about $439,000 in contents. So you're looking at about 3.7 million coverage.
And that's just for building A?
That's just building A.
Okay.
And I will tell you there are other coverages within here that will increase that. Code compliance and so forth. But that's some of the raw numbers we have. So as you look at those three buildings, the estimates that were initially written, y'all ready to write down some more numbers? Okay, on building A, and these numbers have grown, okay? I'm telling you, because I have people in the field, these numbers are static. I mean, they're moving, okay, upward. Initially, you had about a 2.9 million in repair estimates for building A, with about $900,000 in mitigation. Mitigation for building B, repair estimates initially were 3.7 million.
And that's for building A or building B?
Building B, I'm sorry. And then mitigation 670. Now, the key thing about these numbers are, these were early on, Councilman McKinney. These were initial numbers. I will tell you a lot of numbers have been added to that because as these gentlemen continue to walk around, they see leaks, waters, windows are now fogging up, windows are leaking. These numbers are going to be increased significantly by the envelope problems they're having, windows, ceiling, so forth. Code enforcement. I haven't even talked about that yet. We had your code enforcement division from Kenner to come out there because if any building is damaged more than 50%, you have to upgrade with codes. So we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars more that we believe in building A are forthcoming. The final number, Councilman, will be significantly higher, we believe, because of additional damages that have been found since this initial estimates.
So building A repair is 2.9, building B is 3.2.
Yes, sir. Approach and see what district you live in.
I do not live in Kenner. I'm the Kenner Firefighter Association Vice President, and I had a question in regards to the money you mentioned for City Hall. Does that have anything, or does it include the Kenner Firefighter Station that's connected to it as the joint hall to City Hall?
I got that. I'm calling this one in the outfield, mine. So thank you. First off, thanks for coming. We appreciate that. The initial assessment was that if the building A is rebuilt, the one that's attached, then there was not damage to your side of the building because that wall is a separate wall. You can literally take down all of A and leave that wall up. However, if they go through what's called 428 program, or if they have to tear it down and rebuild it from the ground, then that will affect that station. So obviously you guys are going to be involved at the point at which that decision is made. For the council has heard about the 428 process, and fire department definitely would need to be involved in that because the 428 process is, okay, look, we have money from the insurance company, we have money from FEMA, let's build something better. I think that would be a fabulous opportunity for you guys to build something better. I mean, you have functional but not perfect, so it would be nice to be able to upgrade that as well. So fire department will be involved in this as we move forward.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Any other questions?
Donald Tillman, do not live in the city of Kenner. However, you mentioned the 428 program. Is there any way that we can get a copy of the 428 program? Or
I can send you the information if you would give me an email address, or if you leave it on the sign-in sheet over there.
Yes, ma'am.
Then I'll be happy to email that information to you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank you.
it.
Well, I'm looking at the numbers that we have, and when you look into the charts that Calderaro provided, on Building A, including the fire station, there's 14,724 square feet, and the total cost to demolish and rebuild is $4,039,000. It's $274 a square foot. We have 50 on the three buildings, including the fire station. We have 51,000 square feet, and I know that we've had 74,000 thrown out there as square foot needed to bring other people from other spots in. Is that correct, Deborah?
The number that I was given for A, B, and C was 58,000, and then the 72,000 that we came up with included moving the recreation administration, because recreation administration got, obviously, the mall itself was also significantly destroyed. So we have them in a gymnasium right now. It would be nice to get them in with us. So
Okay.
it's a rough estimate.
So when you're looking at the square foot prices on A, B, and C for rebuild, which includes demolition and I guess preparing the site, you're looking at an average of $321 a square foot. And if we went and built 60,000 square feet, we're going to be about $9 million behind. When you take the insured amounts, if we got 100%, would FEMA come in and reimburse that $9 million?
Hypothetically, theoretically, you want it? Okay. FEMA will reimburse if you identify that that is the least expensive, most efficient route. FEMA will reimburse more if you go in and say, look, we're building out back more resilient. What we want to do, instead of building back the buildings we have the way they are, upgraded to code, what we want to create is basically a building that will withstand a Category 5, a building that will have, modern conveniences and energy efficiencies and all of that. Then FEMA will considers eligible cost above and beyond that actual cost. But what FEMA looks at is what you had, what it costs to rebuild it, reasonable, legitimate cost. We can't go in and say $600 a square foot. And then the difference between the insurance and that amount. And that's the FEMA claim. FEMA claim is the difference between what your insurance gives you and what you need to build back to where you are. The only difference in terms of eligible cost is they encourage you to look at the 428 program. So like we were talking to the firemen, if we did a 428 program, it would include upgrading the fire station. When we did the 72,000, Councilman, I'm remembering, we also included the fire administration, because the fire administration building is it's not at policy limits, but in terms of the damage associated with it, it is very close to needing to be rebuilt itself. So if you consolidated fire administration, recreation administration, and all of the city functions that were in all three of those buildings, I think that's where the 72,000 comes from.
How much is the policy limits or on the fire administration?
I'll pull that for you. I didn't bring anything but A, B, and C today.
Because it's looking like we have $10.3 million if these three buildings are demolished, okay? And if we build 60,000 square feet at the average of what was in the report, it's $321 a square foot. That's $19,260,000 minus the 10.3, it leaves 8.96.
To build it back exactly the way it is.
Well, no, because, if my numbers are 51,000, yours are 58, but if you build 60,000 square feet, then we're 8.9 million off. And so if we have to determine if that 74,000 is the real number or not.
I think that is part of your 428 analysis as well, because the contractor is really creating a planning document for you, and they go and they come back and say, okay, here's what an efficient use of space would be. Recognize we have three buildings over there that all have common area. Two of them have elevator lobbies. A lot of them, we have two different sets of stairwells taking up square footage. So when you combine those three buildings, I would anticipate, and again, I'm not an architect, but I would anticipate that the efficiencies of scale would mean that you could create a smaller building that accommodates the very same functions in a more efficient way. So that's what the 428 contractor, have we scored that yet, or is that, okay. Shortly, we will have a 428 contractor who would come back to you and say, If you presented a 428 plan, we've done a space assessment. You have this many departments, they need this much space based upon this calculation. And as a consequence, we will present to you, council, this proposal for a 428. That is what, if you approved it, would then go to FEMA with the information. Here's what we'd like to build back. This is why it's more resilient. This is why FEMA doesn't want to keep paying us, right? They would like us to build something that never has a FEMA claim again. So here's how much our insurance will give us for this. Here's how much more we need from FEMA. Will you approve it? You don't start driving nails on that and then hope you get reimbursed. That's a go up front and say, guys, we'd like to do a 428 instead of a rebuild. You guys good with this? And of course, there's a lot of things associated with this. Right now, one of the things that Mr. Albendian noted was the numbers we're talking about don't include bringing them up to code. There was some discussion about whether the old jail / credit union might be below the crown of the road. And if that's the case, it would have to be elevated. And if you start trying to elevate part of that building, and anyway, so there's some cost associated with the rebuild that we're not, Mr. Calderon gave us a very rough, quick estimate just so we had a global vision. But as they get into the very specific details, you're going to have more numbers. The insurance numbers aren't going to change, but the FEMA numbers are going to respond to whatever it's going to cost us. FEMA wants you to say it's going to cost X to rebuild it exactly the way it is. It's going to cost Y to renovate it, and it's going to cost Z to do a 428. It's going, I think, based upon what we've heard from everyone, it's going to be cheaper to demolish and rebuild than it is to renovate. It's just going to be cheaper because of the code compliance issues that you have there. So anyway, that's the approach. I think you're going at it exactly right. How much insurance do we have? We have to start with that, so we will know how much we're asking FEMA to contribute.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Ronnie Schwartz, District 2 elect. Ms. Deborah, I'm just looking on here for the fire station.
Yes, sir.
Okay, $624,000 roughly.
What page are you looking at, Mr. Ron?
It's
not numbered.
Building 8 cost.
Okay, let me see. I'll catch up with you. Go ahead. Okay.
Okay, you got that, 624,000 roughly. That is for to rebuild the fire station, correct?
That's Mr. Caldero's estimate to rebuild the fire station at 3,021 square feet.
Okay,
I think if you tore it down and rebuilt it, you might want to modify it a little bit.
yes,
Yeah,
okay.
because your bays probably need to be bigger to accommodate some larger equipment.
Because I'm thinking, and roughly, that new station 38, after paying for the land and everything else, just $3 million that we got from the state and all. So 1.5 million to build 38, the new station 38. And that's with some improvements to the crossover at Duke and Loyola and things like that. But to go into it, these figures are $400,000 less to build one station than the other station.
Okay.
And also with this, I don't know, again, with the lawyers and everything like that, the concrete to hold these fire trucks had to be at least a minimum of 6 inches.
Correct.
So when you start putting the parking lot for the offices and things like that, where that fire truck has to come in and go into the fire station, you're talking 6 inches of concrete. And that's considerable, considering that concrete right now is like, $125 a yard. So that's a lot. I'm just looking at the discrepancies between Station 38.
I believe Station 38 is substantially larger, but this was really an estimate at that point of building back what you had. I would not encourage building back what you have, Mr. Ronnie. I would encourage building back something really cool. So
because
with you on the council, I think you're going to make sure that they build back something really cool. So.
Right, you're still going to house 2 apparatuses and 4 men. No matter Station 38, Station 35, it's the same.
And this is a conversation for you to have with the chief as well, but some opportunity might be had to actually look at your service area, right? And determine, do we need another apparatus and another platoon at that location? In other words, do we need to expand to be able to provide coverage and different? So that's a coverage issue, a PIAL issue, a response time issue. So
Right.
I think take this opportunity This is just, if we just build back what we have.
Right,
I don't know that
I
what we have is
understand.
what you want, but take this opportunity, I think, for everyone to try to figure out what we do want, because now's the time to do it.
Yeah, because you got the front line pumper, and you're going to have a secondary, a backup pumper.
Yes,
So
sir.
you will have 2 trucks at this station.
Absolutely.
So we're going to have to make sure if we build it back. Right now, one apparatus from door to get into Station 35, you have to back in or jockey the trucks to get in. And then when you do, you significantly limit the apparatus from getting into things like that.
Sometimes hit the
And
fence
also-
around the generator too. Yeah.
And also, the station is still leaking. Okay, we still have water leak, roof leaks for
Okay,
in the apparatus room
if
and
that's
also
leaking,
in the
I-
captain's room.
I'm sorry, if that's leaking, we need to report that to Southern Cap. Mark, can you document, can you take this report for that station and get Southern Cap to come back out and fix that? Okay. Thank you.
Good. Got to take care of?
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
You gotta stay on it, man. I'm leaving. You're in charge, okay? You got this? Okay.
Got it.
And
Thank you.
I want to add to that, Ronnie, is that the concept of rebuilding the fire station at that same location is not fixed in stone. We have land right down the road that the fire department owns for a new station, that we can build a station there from new, to build a brand new whatever there, and not have it at that location where we could use that space for the additional city resources.
Okay, so we do have areas that's right, they didn't have to necessarily be on the corner.
Right.
It could be in that general area. We're not talking blocks here, we're just talking a yard, 100 yards or something like that, that would be
For what?
for Station 35.
Well,
Are you talking Station 35 or Station 38?
I guess it's
35.
35. I don't know.
But
the
it
Yellowstone.
is blocked, but also when you look at the coverage area, it actually
Yes.
improves your response time. So one of the, and this is a longer conversation with the chief, one of the discussions was to put the replacement station at the lot, which is closer into veterans and gives better response to certain areas. But you could also put the rescue, you could either as
Well, that's at Station 38.
I know, but the rescue could be relocated. In other
Yeah,
words,
that's,
right, so you move, if you move rescue to where you have the city hall, and then you move the city hall over to this new location, it's my understanding that you're going to improve both response time and coverage for purposes of PIA already. I mean, we're at a one now, but we can always do that.
yeah, but I mean, Station 35, that's at City Hall.
Correct. That one is the one that could be moved to another location to increase response time and increase coverage. And the one that's on Williams, that is the rescue unit, which, that's
Station
one-
379.
That's the one we back into the side of the building all the time. That one is not the perfect fire station, but we appreciate the guys who tolerate that. But if we could put that where we have 35 now, that would also give us really good response time for the use of that. But again, this is a conversation. Please have this with the chief, because I'm cutting corners in terms of my description more than I intend, and he's got some really good ideas about that. I know he could use your advice.
Right, where is the new Station 35, the new property that y'all talked about?
What do you think? In
25th Street in Illinois.
Illinois.
25th in Illinois? Oh, okay, that's back there in the neighborhood,
Yes.
by the house. Sure,
So good to be.
yeah,
And if needed, there's additional space just a block from there if we wanted more space that we don't own, but we could probably go do land swap negotiations.
yeah, that's a big area right there. I don't think we would need any more
The
than...
earlier day discussion, as Foshe was saying, was 35, when the money was available, could be rebuilt there to give better coverage in that umbrella versus where it's at. So that's why they bought that land. It's sitting there. We've had people want to buy it from us, and we've told them, no, it's our land, we're not selling it. So it has to hopefully get used for a fire station.
Yeah, they're 379. And I can think of years ago, we wanted to build that station there, and GP School System owned that particular parcel that was right there, and we said we wanted to build there, and they wanted an astronomical amount of money for us to go there at one time.
But the school owned from 25th to West Napoleon from Iowa to Illinois. So they were trying to sell that whole parcel off. They did
Right.
eventually sell it off to blocks of residential, but the fire department got in there and carved out a piece, and they did buy it at I presume a reasonable price, but it doesn't matter now, we own it.
Right, we got it. Okay, well, I just was wondering where the new Station 35 was going, if it wasn't going to be there, okay? Because I wasn't quite sure where it was going.
It's part of the work.
It's just a big
If we could
scope.
use that square footage and bring in other city departments to keep them all in one facility.
Right.
And then move the fire station to this other land where it probably would be even better located, there's a target.
Any thought about moving headquarters over there with Station 35?
There have been a number of discussions about where you could move fire headquarters, whether you can combine it with the station, you combine it with administration, you combine it with the EOC, so that's also just a constant discussion.
It's all dynamic, it's all keeps
It's
moving
all
around.
moving. And now you're here, so your opinion's going to matter. Just talk to the chief and see where we're going with that. We'd really like to hear what you have to say.
Okay, great, thank you.
Something just leaked on me. Southern Cat needs to come and check this building.
It's raining on me anyway. Bird, get out of here, bird. Let that bird in here.
It wouldn't leak.
Okay, if we can have one more comment, and then I'd like to move on to discuss the current location of City Hall details, if you have one.
Donald Tillman, Second Vice President of Local Firefighters Association. We're talking about the new Station 35. Is there a plan, I guess, in place to moving from us to, you talked about 25th in Illinois. Is there a plan in place for the in-between? Because I know right now we talked about the demolishment of Station 38. You know, guys have been in this station in a trailer for 38 for a while now. Is there a plan in place for a timeline of the new station versus, you know, where we're going to be at now versus 25th in Illinois? Also, we're talking about Station 35 and leaking and getting Southern Cat out. I can tell you last night I slept in 38. I was on duty last night, and with the weather last night, I could have sworn that the lightning was coming through the station, but I went to the bathroom at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and there was water coming in through the bathroom, through the bathroom roof. So if you want to get Southern Cat out there and call me, I can definitely have that. Other than that, that's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tillman. Ms. Roshi?
If I may, there is no plan to move. What we're talking about is potential alternatives or options. Ms. Tillman, I'm sorry. There is no plan to move. Right now, what we're talking about is potential opportunities, locations, that sort of. There is no plan. Right now, what we're doing is we're investigating all the opportunities. So if it became a plan, then that's the point at which we also would need to look at the interim.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I think I misspoke. I think I might have said Station 38. I meant to say Station 35. Thank you.
I wish y'all give street addresses, because I can't keep up with these numbers of stations.
Just so you know that, hello. Just so you know, our guys were out there today looking at the roof. We had our contractor go and do some inspecting, but that goes back to what Mr. Rico was saying about how we're now starting to find more problems than what we initially saw right after the storm. It's down the road. I mean, we know it needs to be replaced, and we're working towards that. I've got estimates on that already. We're waiting for to get clearance from once FEMA finishes their inspections and insurance, and I think we'll be ready to roll on replacing it. If they find out what they're going to do, keep it or tear it down. But we had addressed it and looked at it, just to let y'all know.
Thank you, Mr. Glorioso.